Are you mentally healthy? Watch this video, find out the characteristics of a mentally healthy person so that you can judge whether you're mentally healthy or not. First is self-knowledge and self-esteem. With regards to self-knowledge, it is impossible for anyone, no matter how intelligent he or she is, to have 100% self-knowledge. Why? What does Sigmund Freud say? Much of what we know about ourselves is buried in our unconscious, right? Therefore, we cannot access these materials. So how can we increase our self-knowledge? First, reflect. Listen to yourself. What are your wants? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your desires? What are your needs? And whatever they are, acknowledge them, recognize them, and accept them as your own. Also, listen to what other people say. Get their feedback, and with these techniques, you will be able to increase your self-knowledge. If you're a mentally healthy person, you should know your feelings, beliefs, strengths and weaknesses, insecurities, coping mechanisms, what gives you joy, and what you need in relationships. Now, what is self-concept? This is how we see ourselves, and there are two parts of our self-concept: our real self and our ideal self. The real self is the real us. It's not a perfect person, but this is who we are. To be mentally healthy, we should see ourselves the way we really are, but sometimes our perception of ourselves is not realistic. For example, do you see yourself as a glamorous model, whereas you are quite short and very ordinary looking? Another type of self-concept that we have is the ideal self, which is the perfect person we wish we could be. The concept of who we can be used to set some great goals for our future, but it can also become a problem if it is not realistic. Having an ideal self that is 5 feet 10 inches tall, fashion model, is great if you could become 5 feet 10 inches. But if everyone in your family is short, then there's not much chance that you'll become that tall. On the other hand, if your ideal self is a successful nurse and you are a nursing student right now, you might use that as a reason to work really hard at school to become one. As much as possible, the real self and the ideal self should match each other. The ideal self should be the future achievable version of the real self. If they did not match, then we would judge ourselves as lacking and our self-esteem would go crashing down. Self-esteem is seeing your strengths and weaknesses, accepting them, and liking yourself. But why is it important to like yourself? This is very, very important. If you did not like yourself and other people did not like you, their not liking you is going to be a validation of your lack of self-worth. You will be thinking, they don't like me. It's because I am unlikable. But if you liked yourself and other people did not like you, then you would be thinking, oh, they don't like me. That's okay with me. I can live with that. Another characteristic of a mentally healthy person is accurate perception of reality. In order to be mentally healthy, we need to stop distorting reality. An example of reality distortion is seen in the altered perceptions of some persons with mental disorders. They may hear voices when there are none. They may see objects that are not actually present. They may misinterpret stimuli such as seeing a snake instead of an electrical cord. In some mental disorders, reality could be distorted so that a person believes that he is a god or that others are plotting to kill him. But reality distortion occurs even in persons without mental disorders. For example, a woman in an abusive relationship may for several years delude herself that the abuse is her fault and that her husband will one day come to his senses and stop the abuse. Emotional maturity is another characteristic of mentally healthy persons. We all have emotions. Some emotions give us a good inner feeling, such as when we are happy, contented, proud, or ecstatic. But some emotions result to a disturbing inner feeling, such as when we're angry, disgusted, afraid, or frustrated. Whatever emotion that we're experiencing, and no matter how different it is from the emotional responses of others, we should accept that it is our emotion and that we are entitled to that emotion. We should allow ourselves to experience the emotion, but we should also learn to control how we react to the emotion. For instance, when our friend lies to us and we get very angry, it is mentally healthy to allow ourselves to feel angry. But it would not be healthy for us to get a gun and shoot our friend, nor would it be healthy for us to just allow our friend to continue lying. To be considered mentally healthy, we need to be able to identify our emotions, accept them as ours, and react to these emotions in ways that are socially acceptable and growth promoting. In addition, being emotionally mature also entails being able to see what it is at the other side of the fence in terms of emotions. It means that we have to be sensitive to the feelings of others, and we should be able to accept that others have the right to these feelings. Another characteristic of a mentally healthy person is a sense of personal control. One aspect of a sense of personal control is locus of control. Where does the control reside? Persons with internal locus of control believe that they can influence events because the control resides within them. On the other hand, those with external locus of control are just like leaves being blown by the wind. They attribute the events in their lives to external factors such as other people or luck or chance. Another aspect of sense of personal control is self-efficacy. This refers to the belief in one's ability to successfully do what one desires to do. And remember this, very important. The first step towards failure is to believe that you're going to fail. And conversely, the first step towards succeeding is to believe that you're going to succeed. This sense of personal control can be applied in various ways. For example, we accept responsibilities and we do something about problems as they arise. We control our environment when possible. We plan ahead and do not fear the future. We welcome new experiences. We set goals and work towards these goals. We consider what others feel and have to say, but take actions according to our own convictions. Another characteristic of a mentally healthy person is effectiveness in work. We all have limitations, but within the limits set by our abilities, we should be able to do well in the tasks that we attempt to do. Students should be able to pass their exams and submit their requirements as long as these are within their capabilities to achieve. Employees are expected to perform what their jobs require them to do. However, there are times when we fail in what we try to do, and if we meet with failure, we have to be able to persist to overcome failure. On the other hand, we should be able to discriminate when persistence is no longer productive, and in this case, we have to decide that it's time to give up and set a different achievable goal. Another aspect of mental health is a capacity for satisfying interpersonal relationships. Interaction with other people is essential for human development. For example, without interaction with others, an infant's potential for development would be totally unfulfilled. Relationships should be mutually satisfying. The concept of mutuality implies that we're able to trust others as others can also trust us. We do not take advantage of others, nor do we let others take advantage of us. In our relationships, we meet our needs and the needs of the other. We love others, but we also do not stop loving ourselves. A satisfying interpersonal relationship is not just an indicator of mental health, but it is also a contributor to mental health. The contribution of relationships to mental health can be viewed in two ways. One, the availability of social support could directly contribute to increased mental health because of the emotional satisfaction and security that it could provide. Good relationships add joy and meaning to our lives. Second, social support serves as a buffer when we are faced with adversities or stressful life events. Together with the supportive persons in our life, we face life's challenges and celebrate life's joys. Another characteristic of a mentally healthy person is the ability to enjoy life. One aspect of the ability to enjoy life is the enjoyment of the present. Of course, we need to learn from the past and we need to plan for the future. However, too often we make ourselves miserable in the present by regretting the past or worrying about the future. We should live in the moment and appreciate the now. Another aspect is the appreciation of what is instead of what should be. Simply put, it is the ability to count our blessings. We need to focus on what we have instead of focusing on what we do not have. Too often, we judge ourselves by comparing what we have with what others have. This is not fair to us. We would just make ourselves miserable because there will always be others who will be more intelligent, more beautiful, taller, stronger, and richer. The ability to enjoy life also includes the ability to take pleasure in everyday things. For example, when was the last time you appreciated the sky during a sunset? When was the last time that you really savored the taste of the food you were eating? Another aspect is being able to laugh and play. We need to take a break from taking life too seriously. Instead, we need to see the funny or lighter side of things, even laugh at ourselves or our situation. To be mentally healthy, we have to nurture the child that is present in each of us. There are more characteristics of mentally healthy persons, but before we proceed, please hit the subscribe button. Another characteristic of mentally healthy persons is resilience. Resilience is a capacity to bounce back from adversities. It is obvious that there is a wide range of responses to highly stressful events. For instance, a person whose business goes bankrupt commits suicide, whereas another person who has the same experience starts another business that becomes even bigger than the previous one. One woman who has been abused by a man seeks comfort in drugs. Another leaves the abusive relationship and starts a more nurturing one. A man who has lost his family becomes an alcoholic, whereas another man who lost both his family and home moves on after a period of grieving. The concept of resilience implies that change is inevitable and is often out of our hands, so we need to be able to withstand unexpected shocks. We need to be able to move on and bounce back to our previous level of functioning. Or we could use the experience to toughen ourselves so that we are able to cope with future adversities. As the saying goes, whatever does not kill us will make us stronger. Resilience is not a trait. Rather, resilience is a dynamic process that is influenced by the presence of competencies. What are these competencies? For example, problem-solving skills. And, very important, the ability to see that the adversity is just a temporary setback. The specific competencies needed to deal with adversities would vary from situation to situation, person to person, and from time to time. Another characteristic of a mentally healthy person is the ability to achieve balance. Mental health means striking a balance in all aspects of our life: social, physical, spiritual, economic, and mental. For instance, we all need to balance time spent socially with time spent alone. We need to balance work and play. We need a balance between excitement and calm, a balance between sleep and wakefulness, a balance between exercise and rest, a balance between what we earn and what we spend. Reaching a balance is a dynamic process. Each person's personal balance will be unique, and our challenge will be to stay mentally healthy by keeping that balance. We should be able to juggle the many aspects of our life. At times, we may tip the balance too much in one direction and have to find our footing again. We need to recognize when we might be devoting too much time to one aspect at the expense of others. Like, are you working too much and having too little play? Or, on the other hand, are you having too much play and too little work? We have to be able to make changes to restore balance when necessary. Mentally healthy persons work towards self-actualization. We recognize and develop our strengths so that we can reach our full potential. There are people who seem to have surpassed their potential, and there are some who seem to have squandered them. But we first need to recognize our potentials. This is the first step. The next step is to develop these potentials. This step involves taking risks because there is no guarantee of success. However, mentally healthy people are actualizing their potentials regardless of the risk of failure. Mentally healthy persons have flexibility. There are two aspects of flexibility. These are flexibility in the way we think and flexibility in the way we feel. Cognitive flexibility is flexibility in the way we think. Working on making our opinions and thought processes more flexible enables us to look at things from a broader perspective and from different points of view. Therefore, it would be easier for us to see a situation from the point of view of other people, not just from our own. When problems arise, cognitive flexibility also allows us to change our expectations of ourselves, of others, or of the situation, and allows us also to look at the situation from different angles. The change of expectations could help us solve the problem, or at least feel better when the problem is unsolved. Emotional flexibility is equally important to mental health as cognitive flexibility. To be mentally healthy, we should allow ourselves to experience a range of emotions and to express these emotions. Some people shut off certain feelings, finding them to be unacceptable. For example, for some persons, anger is taboo, so they do not allow themselves to experience anger. This emotional rigidity may result to mental health problems. So we've seen the characteristics of a mentally healthy person, and we go back to the original question. Are you mentally healthy? Assess yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Work on the areas that you need to improve in order to have a better mental health.